Top 5 secrets governments around the world don't want you to know about. Every government has some sort of big state secret. Whether it's superpowers like the United States or authoritarian dictatorships like North Korea, there may be national security reasons for these governments to hide something from their own citizens or from foreigners. But in this video, we will uncover the top 5 secrets governments around the world don't want you to know about. Five, the United Kingdom. How it became so wealthy. The United Kingdom has one of the largest economies in the world with one of the richest middle class on the planet. For centuries, the UK was a superpower that had colonized almost half of the world's population. And today it has remained an extremely powerful country, having a permanent seat at the UN Security Council as well as being home to some of the largest companies in the world and owning some of the most important cultural artifacts in the world. However, something that often gets swept under the rug by the UK government is how the country actually got so wealthy. While it may be an open secret at this point, most of the UK's existing wealth is actually generational wealth from the plundering of countries and indigenous peoples across Asia, Africa, the Americas, and Oceania through colonization. Some historians estimate that the British Empire may have plundered as much as $10 trillion of today's money from India alone. Wherever the British Empire would form a colony, they would heavily exploit the locals and the natural resources of that area, with next to nothing being left for the people that actually live there. All of the wealth extracted from these colonies would go straight to Britain. Even the British Museum is filled with stolen artifacts from around the world, unlike many countries like Germany, which actually had to pay reparations to the countries and the nations it had wronged during World War I and World War II. The UK paid absolutely zero reparations to its former colonies, despite having good relations with some of them. The UK likes to sweep the crimes of colonization under the rug in fear that one day they may ask for reparations which the UK can no longer afford. 4. Russia plans to become a superpower again. We all know the history of Russia, the Cold War, and how the Soviet Union went from becoming a superpower that once challenged the US to a failed state that couldn't hold itself together. The USSR split into many countries, but its successor state is often considered to be Russia. For its first decade as an independent country, Russia went under economic and social turmoil and pretty much gave up all of its aspirations to become a superpower. However, under the leadership of Vladimir Putin, Russia has once again managed to worry the world with some of its aspirations. The Russian military still directly competes with, and sometimes surpasses, the United States when it comes to military industry and influence on foreign countries. In battle zones such as Syria, the US and Russian militaries are often seen in opposing sides directly competing against one another, with moves like the annexation of Crimea and support for many wars around the world, as well as interference in US and EU elections. Russia might still be trying to recapture its lost glory. 3. North Korea, the whole country. North Korea is one of the world's most secretive states. To narrow it down to one secret would be impossible, as pretty much everything related to life in the mysterious country is considered a state-level secret by the government. North Korea is alleged to heavily restrict its citizens' movement, right to free speech, fair elections, and has a hand in pretty much all aspects of public life. Criticizing the rulers or the country itself can land you a lifetime of hard labor and conditions that are considered inhumane by practically any major watchdog. There is no free press in North Korea, so there are no newspapers that are able to operate from the country to leak information considered sensitive to North Korea's ruling elite. Over the past 70 years, There have been hundreds of thousands of defectors who have escaped from North Korea to be able to tell their stories, and many intelligence agencies have also uncovered some of North Korea's crimes. The country also faces a massive food shortage, with most of the population barely getting a meal a day, if anything at all. Some tourists that actually do manage to get into the country can only be shown around the country by a guide, and they will usually visit places that are handpicked by the North Korean government to show a normal life when it's anything but. 2. The United States mass surveillance. Despite being titled the land of the free and having a culture of autonomy and lack of government intervention, the United States may slowly be turning into a police state that has its eyes on every aspect of your private life. A law big brother, while conspiracy theories about alleged mass surveillance by the US government have always been there, no one was actually able to uncover the extent until Edward Snowden. Edward Snowden is a former CIA operative who leaked information about the National Security Agency, or the NSA, and revealed the massive scale of surveillance that's being carried out by the NSA of US citizens and even foreign citizens in both hostile and allied countries. The US government clearly did not want this information to leak, as he was forced to either leave the US in exile or stay there and face potential treason charges. Snowden now lives in exile in an undisclosed location in Moscow, while the US has arrest warrants for him if he ever returns. 1. The United States military-industrial complex. The military-industrial complex might be the most powerful force in the United States, and it refers to the massive defense industry that supplies the US armed forces. Critics of the US military-industrial complex allege that the defense production industry, with companies like Lockheed Martin and Boeing, donates to pro-war politicians and wants the US to start more wars around the world, so these companies can get more orders of fighter jets and weapons. Some theorists go as far as to say they actually fund wars in other countries, so the US itself can benefit from selling these countries weapons. What this leads to is a massive defense budget of over $700 billion, despite the fact that the US government can't afford to provide universal health insurance to its population when much poorer countries are able to do so. One example of the military-industrial complex coming into play was when the US government, under the Bush administration, went to war against the Iraqi government under the impression that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. After invading Iraq, the world came to know that Iraq had no weapons of mass destruction at all, and the Vice President of the United States, who also happened to be one of the biggest proponents of the war, was actually a former CEO and chairman of Halliburton, one of the largest defense contractors of the US Armed Forces. That's a wrap for the top 5 secrets governments around the world don't want you to know about. Do you trust your government when it comes to transparency? Let us know in the comments below. As always, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you next time.